Now we move over to Europe next, where US President Donald Trump says Ukraine's Volodymyr Zelensky will have to make a deal to end the war, warning that Europe must stop buying oil from Russia. Trump blamed NATO and EU states for funding Moscow through energy purchases. Meanwhile, a Russian drone strike hit central Kharkiv in broad daylight today, damaging an educational institution and injuring at least 4 people. One university employee was among the wounded, and video from the scene shows a massive explosion in the city's Slobidsky district. Meanwhile, Ukraine reported intercepting 89 out of 113 Russian drones overnight, while Russia claimed it shot down 87 Ukrainian drones across several regions. Ukraine also said it struck a Russian oil refinery in Saratov, while Russia targeted a Ukrainian gas facility in Sumy. Okay, we're now joined by Dr. Satoru Nagao. He is a fellow at the Hudson Institute and he joins us live from Tokyo in Japan. Dr. Nagao, thank you very much for joining us here on the program. What are your thoughts on the statements here from Donald Trump and his new push to try and stop Europe from buying Russian oil completely? Do you think that'll work in this push for Moscow to finally agree to peace?
Finally agree to peace or not is not rely on just this thing, I believe, because this is related with money supply. But at the same time, money supply is only one thing to continue the war. So that's why this is important step, but this is not enough to achieve the ceasefire, I think. But anyway, but this is an issue, a logical issue, I think, because in the past, President Trump asked India to stop buying oil from Russia. So now the President Trump start to call the same thing to Europe is a logical thing. And indeed, this is very tough choices because to change the source of oil, they need to find alternative source. But in the world, source is limited, and it relies on the supplier's decision to increase the production or not. So that's why, view from the supply side, they want to get more money. They demand more money. If the country who stops to buy oil from Russia need to find an alternative source, in this case, the supplier side try to demand more money. So that's why in the same money the receiver, buyer prepared, it is not enough to buy alternative source of oil. So that's why this is additional cost, demanding additional cost is not easy to find money. That is the reason many European countries, at least 3 are very typical, Turkey, Slovenia, and Hungary. But also through the other countries, the other European countries also import Russian oil indirectly. So that's why without finding alternative source, they cannot do that. So they want to hide this fact, but indeed now the President Trump asks them to stop it, and this is a big demand, I think.
Yes, and Dr. Nagao, what do you make of President Trump shifting the blame to NATO and European states for funding Moscow now? And of course, what we have to look at as well is Russia's current way of war, conducting a strike in broad daylight today to damage an educational institution. What do you make of this?
In this, it relies on the start of the President Trump's diplomacy or negotiation, because he loves the bilateral negotiation to deal by using intimidation. This is the pattern. In this case, when he talked with India, he asked India to stop importing the oil from Russia, and now he turned to Europe, and the same request, same demand as applied to Europe. So one by one, bilaterally, he tried to demand it. So the view from this, in the future, the time, China's time will come, I believe, because one by one he will change. So because the time and labor power is limited, so one by one he needs to solve is the style of the Trump administration. So one by one it will demand the same thing, but every time country the Trump choose is different.
Yes, Dr. Satoru Nagao, thank you very much for joining us. Always a pleasure to have you on the program. We now move back over to the United States, where a New York state judge dismissed